right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. Welcome back to the Crypto Decrypted every Friday at 2 p.m. You guys know that Friday is time for the Crypto Decrypted Trading Room, brought to you by TD Markets and TD Markets Academy. I trust everyone is doing well this Friday afternoon, right? We are approaching the end of the week, and so we're gonna do that with some crypto discussions, all right? We know that the world or crypto is taking over the world. So there's a few talking points we're going to talk about in this session, or we're going to look at in this session in preparation for the next coming week, right? Remember, we do this every Fridays at 2 p.m., right? If you're joining us for the first time, if you're watching us for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, all right? So before we get started, remember, if you guys want to sign up and register for an account on our TDME or TD Markets Exchange, our website is tdmarkets.io. All right. Please don't confuse this with tdmarkets.com. This one is tdmarkets.io. The link is on the chat right now. This is where you can sign up for an account, right, on our TD Markets Exchange. If you guys need any further assistance, please contact us at care@tdmarkets.com. All right. So we're going to get it started, guys. Now, once obviously you've signed up, you've registered for the account, you're going to click on login, and then it will take you to our derivatives platform, which looks like this. A simple platform. All right, this is our exchange platform where you can trade derivatives online, of course. All right, we're going to go through some analysis, but before we do that, let's have a look at some fundamentals. All right, let's have a look at some fundamentals. What has been happening with the crypto? We're going to look at our main indicators like your liquidation heat map. We're going to look at other indicators like your altcoin season index. Something interesting is happening with our altcoin season index, so we're gonna talk about it, right? Also, we're gonna talk about the liquidation heat map and all the other indicators. But first, let's talk about the fundamentals, what has been happening. All right, a lot has been happening in the past 2 months. A lot has been happening. So the major drivers behind the crypto market lately, right, reflect a mix of microeconomic pressures, institutional flows. We're going to talk about the institutional flows. We're going to talk about those macro economic pressures, regulatory updates, and geopolitical influence. All right. The market has shown volatility with Bitcoin fluctuating around $69,000 to $72,000. We are going to have a look at the Bitcoin chart, and then we'll see how what is the current price action and what to anticipate. All right. So this is the range Bitcoin has been trading on, right? Influenced by short-term risk of sentiment, but supported by long-term structural positivity or rather positives. It's quite interesting how we are seeing short-term risk of sentiment, but is supported by a longer-term structural positives. We're going to have a look at that, right? So as we dive deep to or on the key macroeconomic and geopolitical factors, right? The first one, we've got the central bank and interest rates, Federal Reserve policy and interest rates. You guys know that on Wednesday, the Fed has announced their interest rates, and then they spoke more about that during the press conference. So obviously, interest rates is a major factor in influencing the markets, right? So crypto, Bitcoin obviously can be influenced by such. So the recent FOMC meeting, has been pivotal, right? With expectations around rate cuts driving volatility. Dovish signals could spark rallies, while hawkish tones contribute to pullbacks. Now, the Fed at the moment, all right, I spoke about this some time ago that the FOMC consists of 12 officials. Now, on the recent meeting, only one of the 12 officials favored a rate cut, while the 11 officials out of the 12 favored pausing rates. All right. Hence, interest rate remained the same at 3.75% in the US. All right. So the reason to that is because of what's been happening in the Middle East, or the Middle East conflict, Middle East tension, and also recent indicators like your very weak jobs report, very weak jobs report, as well as a moderate to weak inflation data. I mean, this one is debatable. Some people may view it as weak, some people may view it as moderate, but those also contributed to the Fed pausing rates. All right. And then you've got your geopolitical tension, the recent US-Iran conflict. And obviously, we saw how the oil price spiked and caused some risk off moves, right? Pressuring crypto temporarily, though. Yeah, basically pressurizing crypto temporarily. And then you've got your global liquidity trends, improving conditions from easing monetary policy, potential quantitative easing hints, and other flows support risk assets like crypto over time, though short-term headwinds persist. All right, so there's a lot of obviously these are the updates. All right, we're gonna also have a look at some institutional flows, how it's looking, some Bitcoin and Ethereum inflows. Right, so starting with the liquidation heat map, guys. All right, nothing has changed pretty much. Nothing has changed. I like to look at the 24-hour, the data from 24 hours. All right, so from 24 hours ago, we can see these are the total positions in the last 24 hours, and there's been the majority of them long positions which have been liquidated. All right, so out of a total of these positions, only so much long positions have been liquidated and short positions have been liquidated. So there is still a lot more long positions that are liquidated. As such, the market will be pressured to the downside. All right, so this is what we see. And if we look at our altcoin season index, yesterday it was on 53 to 100, right? So right now is on 47. It's slowly tilting or moving towards the altcoin season. It's very interesting what's happening right now, because whenever it is the altcoin season, Bitcoin suffers. Whenever it's the Bitcoin season, altcoin suffers. So according to this gauge and index, we are seeing that it's slowly tilting towards the altcoin season, right? Which is going to be pretty interesting. That means money is going to be flowing to the altcoins, all right? And then our crypto ETF flow chart, right? Our crypto ETF flow chart. This is how it looks like. In the past couple of weeks or week, there was a lot of inflows, right? ETF inflows on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this week, or rather yesterday, there was a bit of outflows. So this is what I'm talking about, right? In the last week or two, there has been a lot of inflows. That's why we have seen Ethereum and Bitcoin pushing towards the upside. And in the past 2 days, there's been a lot of outflows, right? This tells you that now there's a shift towards the downside. And if you look at Bitcoin, how it's looking at the moment, if you look at how Bitcoin is looking at the moment, it has been bearish for the past couple of days. If you look at the daily chart, it has been slightly pushing towards the downside in the past couple of days. All right. So let's do some analysis. Now we have seen the indicators. We looked at some key macroeconomic factors. And when it comes to institutional flows, I mean, we looked at that, right? So that tells us that there is outflows at the moment. So as I take a look at the analysis on Bitcoin, short term, we're just going to look at some short term movements. All right, I'm going to use the daily time frame just to get the sense of the direction, and then we will then prepare for the upcoming movements. Obviously, Bitcoin formed the low here, right? And then it created structure here. You can see that it broke the structure, slightly went down. So that was a 61.8 retracement of the Fibonacci. So if you had drawn your Fibonacci like this would have been the 61.8 retracement, all right? And then it went back up because of this rejection of the Fibonacci 61.8. It went back up to break this structure there, right? And then if you take your Fibonacci again, if you drag your Fibonacci again like this, we can see that it is holding tight on that 61.8. So where the market is right now, it's at the very sensitive area where the market is, right? We still have this low. The market is creating higher highs and higher lows right now, but it's moving fairly weak than how it dropped. All right. So where the market is right now, it's a very sensitive area. You also have your support trend line right there. It's a very sensitive area. So a couple of things here. Let me do this. A couple of things we're going to be watching out for, right? So obviously we have this resistance, or rather this support here of the trend line, right? So we all know that a support can break or it can reject. It can break, it can reject. So as it is now, right now, we've got these two possibilities. Either price will continue pushing towards the upside, right? Either price will continue pushing towards the upside. If it breaks, then it will then drop towards this area. If it breaks, it's at a support at the moment, right? It can break if it wants, it can reject. If it rejects, then we're anticipating this to head back to this high, right? Give us maybe one more push to that high. But if it breaks this, then we're anticipating a push back down to this low. So we'll see what's going to happen. It's it's undecided at the moment. All right. So that is Bitcoin, how Bitcoin is looking. So obviously, if the outflows continue, then definitely we are going to see Bitcoin pushing towards the downside if the outflows continue. And then you've got Ethereum. All right, you've got Ethereum, which is almost similar to what Bitcoin is doing. So it created that low. Right there, and then obviously it has broken these structures here. It created the structure, broke the structure, it created another one here, and it broke it, right? So if you take your Fibonacci, you draw your Fibonacci as such, you will notice that it's also at this zone here, right? It's also this zone. So if it rejects this zone, then we're likely going to get one more push up back to that. If it rejects this zone, one more push up, right? But if it breaks the zone, if it continues, because ultimately this whole thing here is a correction. This whole thing is a correction, just like this is a correction. You see that? If it breaks below, then we are likely going to see Ethereum pushing down. The outflows will then push this back to this low. The outflows are going to push this back to this low. All right. So also it's at the very sensitive critical area there, which can either give us one more push up there, or it can give us a push towards the downside. Either way, there is going to be opportunity. Nonetheless. All right. So what we're going to look at is just to track these inflows and outflows to see what's going to happen, right? We can look at a lot of from the 19th, look at how many outflows we've had. That's a lot. All right. And just to go through some altcoins, guys, some altcoins we should keep an eye on. If you look at Cardano, we spoke about Cardano the last time, right? We spoke about Cardano pushing towards the upside the last time, and indeed it did push towards the upside. Let me just switch to an 8-hour chart. So Cardano moved as per the analysis, because the last time we spoke about price pushing back towards the upside, right? When it bounced from this low here, we said it's going to push towards the upside. So the analysis here hasn't really changed much. hasn't really changed much because this move towards the upside is not broken as yet. So as it is right now, only if it breaks this low, right, this support here, then that means we are gonna head back down to this low, only if it breaks, right? But as it is right now, there's a higher probability that it can go back to that high. So we would be looking for a continuation back to that high, either back to this high first, um, either back to that high. If it breaks that high, then we are potentially going back to that high, right? Obviously, we're gonna need some confirmation. The only way we're gonna be bearish is if it breaks this low. Then we're going back to this low if it breaks this low. So these are basically the two possibilities, right, that we're seeing here. So let's see what's going to happen with Ethereum, not Ethereum but Cardano. At the moment, it's going up as per the analysis. It's pushing up as per the analysis. So let's then see what is going to happen next. And if you look at Dogecoin, though I think Dogecoin also did the same thing. It also did the same thing. It pushed up as per the analysis, right? We were looking at price bouncing from this low, making a push towards the upside. And this one, we spoke about price potentially going back to this high. So when we spoke about this move, we spoke about price potentially going back to this high. So we have this push down, right? But we're still looking for a continuation up there. If it breaks this low, we're going to change our analysis. If it breaks this low, we're going to change our analysis because that means now we're going to be going towards the downside, back to this low, back to that low. So our trading opportunity towards the downside, we're going to get it once it breaks this low. All right. So that's basically how Dogecoin is looking. And then you've got, I think we went over, let me see, Solana. We went over Solana, and then Ripple was the last one. So let's go over Solana. This is how Solana is looking, right? Solana also went up, back to this high. It went back to this high, Solana, right? We spoke about price going back to that high. So it seems like Solana is a little bit more bearish than the other ones. It broke that high. We still have this support down here. We still have that low also down here. There we go. So it seems like this one, it will potentially give us this push down, right? More especially if it breaks below this. More especially if it breaks below this, then it's more than likely going to give us a push towards the downside. I wouldn't expect this to push up. I wouldn't expect this to push up, but I would expect this to push towards the downside. Yeah, so Solana, we're waiting for the break for this to push, to give us a push towards the downside. Back down to this low. Back down to this low. All right. And then Ripple will be the last one we're going to look at this afternoon. Ripple, this is how Ripple is looking. Ripple also moved as per the analysis, and with this one, it seems like this one is likely going to break as well. But the last time we spoke about this, we said it is most likely going to go back to this high. If it breaks that high, it's going to go back to that second high. So it almost reached the second high, right? And now it's pushing towards the downside. We still have this low. We also have this low here, right? So this one, it seems like it's going to potentially give us one more push down here, right? It doesn't seem like it's going to go back to that high because it is respecting this structure here. It is respecting the structure, right? So it doesn't seem like it's going to go back to that high. So from there, right, we're anticipating price to push towards the downside. So it's just a matter of time before we get our setups. Just a matter of time before we get our setups and look for one more push towards the downside. So that is how Ripple is looking, right? So some market updates on the major altcoins. We looked at Bitcoin, we looked at Ethereum. So it's just some major updates we did here, right? Also keeping an eye on what's happening in the Middle East, keeping an eye on our liquidation heat map over the last 24 hours, how things have been looking. Also keeping an eye on our liquidation, our altcoin season index, our net flow chart, ETF net flow chart, keeping a very close, because this is very important, right? The altcoin season index, also very important. The fear and greed index. So let me go to the fear and greed index, right? There has been a lot of fear in the past couple of days, in the past couple of weeks, even up to a month. There's been extreme fear. It's a little bit okay at the moment, but it's still, there's a bit of fear at the moment. If you take a look at this chart here, you'll see there's still some fear in the market, all right? And that is because the market has gone, it is oversold. So it is oversold. So this is the Bitcoin chart. This gray here, this gray line that you see here is the Bitcoin chart, all right? So it's obviously, according to this gauge, is neutral, but it's oversold. Hence, there is a bit of fear, right? So let's see what's going to happen, guys. But this is the outlook we have. We looked at some short-term movements. We're gonna wait for the market to paint this picture for us, right? Until we get that bullish run. We are waiting for that bullish run, all right? So yeah, so this is how we're looking at the moment, guys. I hope this was clear. I hope this was straightforward. This will assist you in making more informed decisions. Remember, you can just sign up for an account on our tdmarkets.io. That's our crypto exchange, and it will then lead you to our exchange where you can trade derivatives, all right? Where you can transact and trade derivatives on our exchange. And guys, meet us every Friday at 2 p.m. That is every Friday at 2 p.m. where we're going to give you guys the lowdown, the updates on the crypto market, and we're going to take it from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us this afternoon. Have a good Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be with you guys back again next week. Cheers, everyone. Care@tdmarkets.com.